A particular issue for older people is obviously dementia. Now, in your report, so it's the largest killer for women now, and in your report you say that there'll be 1.4 million cases by 2040 at the current rate. You also say that 40% of dementia cases are preventable. What should we do in earlier life to pursue prevention?
There was a very good review that came out in The Lancet, I think now about 6 months ago. I may get the timing wrong. But what it showed was that there were a very large number of things which each one of which contributed 2 or 3%. Some of which are the same things as we do for heart disease. Exercise is definitely one of them, which we'll be talking about today, but it includes things like lowering your blood pressure, stopping smoking, a variety of the things we know about. There are also some things that are more specific to dementia, like, for example, hearing loss in middle age, which people don't use hearing aids for. Speeds up dementia, probably because it leads to social isolation. So there's a lot of different things, and if you stack them all together, then you can reduce the prevalence of dementia or delay dementia very significantly. And if we could delay dementia in the UK by about 5 years, we would halve the number of people who have dementia.
Would you consider dementia a natural conclusion of ageing or a disease?
Well, dementia is a group of diseases. In the UK, these days, 3 dominate: Alzheimer's disease, vascular dementia, which has a lot of risk factors in common with other cardiovascular diseases, heart disease and stroke, and something called dementia with Lewy bodies, which is usually associated with Parkinson's disease. But historically, there have been many other forms of dementia. For example, if we go on back 100 years ago, a very large number of people in the UK who had dementia was due to syphilis, which is now gone. I make that point because there are many causes of dementia we've simply got rid of. HIV dementia was a big problem 20 years ago. And in my view, the ones that remain, we can make a very significant chunk out of. We may not be able to cure them completely, but what we can do is slow them right down. And many of the things we can do to slow them right down are relatively simple interventions, of which exercise, which you're talking about today, is very firmly one.
What would focusing on quality years mean for how the health and social care services are structured?
Well, I think if you look at this extraordinary difference between the people who live the shortest lives in areas of deprivation and the longest lives in areas of affluence, if we could make the period of ill health of those people in the poorer, more deprived areas the same as those in the more affluent ones, it would substantially reduce the pressure on both NHS and social care services, not just a bit. The difference, as I say, is more than a decade's worth of ill health. And so trying to shrink that is, in my view, in the long term, one of the most important things we can do to maintain the sustainability of the NHS.
There is a huge kind of social determinant around health and around people's kind of outcomes. So it feels like there's with those differences, there are some people ageing well. What do we do to close that gap?
And, well, like most things in medicine, it's large numbers of things, each of which will contribute a few percent. There's no single thing you can do, but if we did all of those things and we know what those things are, and exercise is very firmly one of them, smoking obviously is a very major one, air pollution is another. If we can do all of these things, the gap would be narrowed very significantly, and that would be a huge benefit to those individuals, to their families, and to wider society. So there's an enormous win if we can get this right. And we know what to do on these, it's simply having the will to do it.
We're talking about a lot in healthcare at the moment about the 3 shifts. How would you make those 3 shifts work in terms of a shift to prevention and community, to kind of what are the basic interventions into health that will help people age better?
I'll just concentrate on the health into prevention because I don't want to go down too deep a rabbit hole on this. But I think on this, there are 5 issues which, if we dealt seriously with all of them, would very significantly reduce that gap. It wouldn't take it away completely. Things like housing, a variety of other things which are also important. The first is cigarettes and smoking more widely. Absolutely catastrophic for the life course for people, and if we can stop that, I'm hoping the bill to make a smoke-free generation will get through the House of Lords reasonably unscathed, because it's such an important intervention. Then there's air pollution. which is going down in most places, but there's still a way to go. We know how to do it. It's a matter of do we do it. Reducing people who have high and risky levels of alcohol so that they use it for social purposes in moderation but not in the large amounts. Then we move on to exercise, which we're talking about today, and that has, again, an enormous impact on them. In broad terms, there are three things that people need as they grow older, one of which is the overall amount of exercise they do. And the good news on this, in terms of studies coming in, just keeps rolling in. And I just wanted to highlight one study because I think it's so clear what this does. So this was a study that came out literally last month. It's from the US, but similar data. It's in women because a lot of the previous data has been from men, so I think it's an important study. And what that showed was that after 10 years of following up a large number of women, what they found is that there was a 26% reduction in mortality if people took once to twice a week 4,000 steps, that's less than 2 miles, just twice a week. And if they did that more than 3 times a week, it was a 40% reduction. And you also saw a reduction. These are big numbers. Now, if you had a drug that did that, the drug company would be making huge sums because of the extraordinary impact this can have. So if you've got that, you've got something which is, once you've got the infrastructure right, for most people largely free, and it improves not just mortality and cardiovascular disease, it has big impacts on cancer, it has impacts on diabetes, has impacts on dementia, has impacts on mental health issues. It's got multiple hits. So this is something which is very important, which is why I was absolutely delighted that this committee was highlighting this, because the combination of an older population and the extraordinary impact that you can have by improving access to exercise and other physical activity is really important.